Hong Kong 50 technical analysis, and we're on the H4 chart. This video actually is a continuation of a previous video. This is actually part 2. So if we were to look at the the daily chart, we would see that the market at this point in time is in a downward trending market, which tells us that for the most part, in as far as the daily chart is concerned, we should be looking for selling opportunities, right? But as I said, we are on the H4 chart, and on the H4 chart we can see that the market had given us this very nice M structure. It's actually an overextended M structure, as that first leg is much lower than that second leg, and as you guys can see, it has a neckline more or less at that point. And you guys know that whenever we have these patterns such as the M formation or double top, ideally we want to see price actually break into the bottom side of that neckline over here, and then going back to the neckline to just test it. And generally speaking, where we have that neckline is where we would look for those potential sell opportunities, especially if that neckline aligns with any key numbers that we have in regards to the Fibonacci retracement tool, right? As I said, we are on the H4 chart, and at this point in time the neckline is still yet to be broken to the bottom side. And I also want to mention that there are other reasons that motivate for why we may potentially see the market move further down over and above the fact that the daily chart is in a downward trajectory, right? And that is, if you were to look at this area over here, you would see that we actually have a gap. And what gaps are areas of liquidity. And as I always say, liquidity is actually money that needs to be triggered by the market at some stage. And over and above the fact that we have a gap over here, we have another one over here, as you guys can see, right? And it's very much similar to this one in that it too is carrying a lot of liquidity. So there is plenty of scope for the market to move further down, right? And if we were to go down to the H1 chart, on the H1 chart, we would see that right at the bottom over here, we actually have what seems to be a bearish candlestick over here with a small body and quite a long lower wick, right? And it too is a liquidity candlestick, and it is carrying a lot of liquidity right at the bottom where that wick ends, right? So there is at this point in time plenty of scope for the market to move further down, right? Number one, I said to you guys that we have, if I can just show it to you, number one, we have this M structure, right, which has a neckline at that point, right? And ideally, as I said, we want to see price actually break into the bottom side of that neckline and also breaking this channel. Once that happens, chances are that we're going to see price move further down. And as I had said, this particular M structure started at this point, and ideally we would love to see it end at that level in line with where it started. Remember, also spoke about how we have these gaps over here that are carrying all of that liquidity, right? In addition to that candlestick over here that is also carrying all of that liquidity, right? The last point that I want to make is that on the H1 chart, we can see that the market had given us what is a triple bottom over here, right? And triple bottoms are very much similar to W formations in that whenever we have these triple bottoms, what normally happens is that, let me just actually draw that properly. Let's just go back, right? So when we have triple bottoms, what normally happens is that a lot of traders and investors buy on this leg and place their stop losses below, as well as on this leg, as they would be seeing a double bottom, and similarly place their stop losses below, right? So what I'm saying in other words is that at this point in time, we have a lot of money stuck here in the form of stop losses. We have, as I said, a gap over here, which is also liquidity, as well as this gap over here, which similarly also represents liquidity, right? So in conclusion, there is plenty of scope for the market to actually move further down, and ideally, as I'd said, I would love to see price actually close below this neckline of this M structure, as well as below this trend line, right? Once that happens, ideally we want to see price go back to these 2 points to give it a test, and then from there push further down.